Hello, and welcome to the Investor Guys Podcast, the ultimate podcast for serious real estate investors in the know. Join your host, Bill Barnett and Kevin Mills, as they share their expert insights, strategies, and tips to help you succeed in the world of real estate investing. Get ready to level up your investment game with the Investor Guys Podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Bill Barnett and Kevin Mills.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Investor Guys Podcast. Bill, how's it going?
Yay! It's going excellent, my friend. The real estate world is continuing to rock on, and it's hot. Stay hot. Don't know how much longer it's going to. Certainly think that we're going to get into this time next year before we see it cool, I believe. So we'll see. And you know what? You and I were yakking before we came on air about how many people are moving specifically into our two states, in the Florida and Texas. You want to touch base on that this morning? Want to talk about that? What do we want to talk about today?
You know what? Let's talk about that. We did have a different show planned for today. Our last show was on using LLCs to do business with. We were going to do corporations, and we'll still do corporations. But I think it's really, and we've touched on this before, we've covered this before. But I think it's really appropriate, and we really need to drive this home because it is just out there. As I said just before we went on air, it's like getting hit in the head with a 2x4. It is so obvious when you're in markets like yours and mine, how many people are literally just draining into Florida and Texas, other states as well, from California, from New Jersey, from Illinois, from New York, from all those states. And there are a number of news outlets that have done news stories. And I was talking to you about this on the air, literally pointing out that under the new Biden tax laws, the average percentage in California is going to go 68% for taxes. There are 5 different states that are going to be over 60% in the tax bracket. That means
think about that. Let that sink into everybody.
What's that?
5 states are going to be over 60%. Think about, put yourself in that position. If you are living in California, New Jersey, New York, Illinois, if you were living in one of those states where the rates are going to go to that, what would you be doing right now? And if you had the ability to pick up and move, would you? Well, heck yeah, especially if you're looking at Florida and Texas and going, oh, wait a minute, I'm paying 60% here. And what was the rate again there? Oh, I'm sorry, it's 0. Yeah, I'm moving, and people are doing it all the time. Now, if you're in that position, and I think Kevin and I both would say, hey, welcome, come on down, except for one thing.
Keep your politics.
Do not change the way we do things here, which is why you want to move here to begin with, to what you left. If you just want to make this another version of California or New Jersey or Illinois, stay there, because we're gonna fight you here. And I don't mean physically necessarily. I don't mean physically, but we're going to fight you here. This is a vestige of America that is quickly disappearing, and it is the no tax, low tax state, and we want to keep it that way. If you want to come down and be a part and become a Texan or become a Floridian in true spirit, not just in your address, bring it on. If it's just an address move, find another place.
Okay. There is a reason that blue states are the way that they are. And you have the influx, when you have the influx of blue people coming to red states, those red states turn into those less desirable states like the blue states used to be. There's a reason. Remember that when you move. Now, I want to preface something really quick. If you move to Texas or you move to Florida or you move to Nevada or some of these other states, you're not going to pay 0 taxes. You're paying 0 state income taxes.
Yep.
Now, what's important to understand is federal taxes are going to go up under Biden, okay? They have not said yet what taxes are going to be in California, in New York, in Oregon, in any of these other states, Illinois, that have been hit hard by coronavirus. They have not taken in tax money because they shut everything down. They locked everything down. They have no income coming in because they closed everything down. People aren't paying their income taxes because they didn't make an income. Businesses are not paying taxes because they're closed down or they're going to be gone for forever. Now, all of that is going to be thrown onto the taxpayer on the state level. That means that anybody who lives there is now going to be having to reimburse all of those losses that were caused by the government of those states and of those cities locking them down. When you come to a state like ours, you're still going to pay federal tax, but you're not paying a state income tax. So no matter what, you're not going to pay that 68% like what you're paying in California. You're going to pay closer to, say, 15, 20%, whatever the federal tax is going to go up under Biden. Now, an interesting fact, I don't know if I've told you this before, not Bill, but Florida is larger than New York. Florida has a larger population than the state of New York.
Excellent.
Florida has a smaller operating budget than the state of New York. New York has more people and has an operating budget that's almost double that of Florida's. New York has high state income taxes. Florida has no state income taxes. So that should tell everybody that there is a difference in the way you run a state and the way you run business, okay? If states like California and New York are in trouble and they're taking that much tax money, you have to ask yourself, where is that money going? And more importantly, not where it's going, but where it's coming from. You know it's coming from your pockets. And it's not just individuals that are going to be moving, it is companies. And let's talk about that when we come back, because I think we're about ready to go.
Let's do that, because what we want to do is, I know this has sounded, and we've bitten our tongue a few times trying not to be political here, but we wanted to let you know this is having an impact on the real estate market. When we come back from the break, we're going to tie that in, how it affects the real estate market, how it can affect you in a positive way, how you can take advantage of that, understanding the play. As soon as we come back from the break, stick around for more Investor Guys podcast. We'll see you on the other side.
You are watching the Investor Guys podcast.
Live the resort lifestyle every day with Cayman K. The perfect pieces for every wardrobe. Shop the entire Cayman K collection and find your favorites. Find all our styles at CaymanK.com.
Absolution X. Lifestyle apparel like no other. Limited editions. Unique, exclusive designs. Seek your absolution. Get yours. Only at absolutionx.com.
reallykevin.com. Weekly recorded coaching sessions. Learn, grow, find resources, opportunities, and more. You'll find it all at reallykevin.com.
All right, and we are back on the other side of that break there. And what we were talking about just before we left is it's not just individuals that are leaving these states. Companies are making mass exoduses from these states. You've got Tesla moving to Texas. We've got NASDAQ and other Wall Street companies now talking about moving to Texas as well. We've got other companies that are talking about moving to Florida. Those companies take jobs with them. That means if you're in a place like Florida, if you're a place like Texas, it's bringing new jobs into the market. So not only are we seeing people make a mass exodus from these states to states like ours, we're seeing businesses. And that gives us a 1-2 punch, literally, because we have all these new individuals who are coming in, and that just by I don't know, aggregation of the people coming here, that creates more jobs. because you have more necessity for more houses to be built, more cars to be sold, more food to be sold, more restaurants to be eaten at. That creates business. Then you've got businesses coming here. They need to hire more people. That means that there's more income for those individuals who are moving into the States to have. This is all a great recipe for success as an investor if you can tap into either one of these markets, or if you're in a market like Idaho or Arizona or Nevada, like Las Vegas, where people are flooding into as well.
Yep.
So let's talk about how an investor can set themselves up. I mean, this is something that's already happening. It's not like you're going to be able to beat this, okay? Bill and I have kind of jumped ahead of this. I came to Florida and have been investing in Florida for the last 30 years. I've seen it building up. I've been investing in Texas, as has Bill, for the last 30 years, and I've seen it build up. I am going to continue to invest in Metroplex in Dallas, which I've been doing for forever, and I'm going to really ramp up my investing in Florida since I am.
Well, in 92, I had my first Floridian investment. I've had a couple of mobile home parks in the Florida world.
There you go.
Yeah. So when you start looking at everything again, that kind of got political sounding there, but what we want you to do is think about how all of this, to use a famous term from the Reagan administration, how all this trickles down to the real estate market, because it impacts the real estate market greatly. When we have all of these people coming in to these states, and there's about 5, just like there are 5 states that are mass exodus, there's about 5 states where there's mass influx, Texas and Florida being the top 2, and we are more than happy to acquiesce the number 1 slot to Florida in this regard. But that's where people are moving to, or primarily our 2 states, and again, there's additional states as well, but mainly when you look at where they're going, how do you take advantage of that? How do you become a part of, one of the things that I learned, my professional background is in the financial services world, investment banking, merchant banking. And one of the things I learned from Merrill Lynch in the 80s, my gosh, was the guy that was my boss said, hey, look, you want to stay in the flow of money. And over the years, that was not a statement that was made that instantly sunk in, light bulb went in, oh, got it. But the longer, every day and day, it makes more sense to me. And I understood, and I really have understood it since I've been in real estate. But the statement is all about, where's all the business going? What type of business is going there? And for us, it's rental market, it's new construction, it's flips, whatever it happens to be. It's self-storage. There's going to be an explosion in the self-storage market. It's in mobile home parks, because in Florida, they have some, like California, they have some incredibly nice mobile home parks. We're just starting to get that development piece in Texas, as far as the planned community that happens to be a mobile home park or manufactured homes. All of that is going to be impacted with this influx of new citizens coming into these states and creating demand. So existing properties are going to be pushed up. Now, the reason that we see a hot market in Florida, a hot market in Texas, and a lot of other parts of the country is that supply demand. This is the basic economic theory that you learned probably before you got to college. But if you took an econ class in college, that was the number 1 basic thing was we start with supply and demand. And that's the housing market to a T. So when this starts happening, you want to be in, where can I get in the flow of, well, I said flow of money. If you look at it with the flow of people coming into these states, that is the flow of money. And as these businesses come in, we've got to have more and more and more people. If you drive around, if you're wherever you are, if you're out driving around and you don't see construction going to the point that you're kind of scratching your head going, where are all these people coming from? We ask ourselves this all the time. Literally across this white light right here, about a tenth to maybe probably a third of a mile directly behind that door right there. 700 house subdivision being put in right now. Like, oh my gosh, it's been, I've been here for, in this zip code for about 38 years. That's been a giant, not a green belt, but just giant field for 38 years. Well, it's not now. Now there is construction going on like crazy in there. And if you're not driving around seeing that kind of stuff, you need to be going, I need to be where the action is. I need to be where the growth is, because if I'm in a good growth market, I'm in a good job market, I'm in a good real estate market, I'm going to get top price for my properties. I'm going to be able to keep my rental properties rented and get a good rental base for them. See where the flow is and get in the flow.
It's been a giant field for more than 38 years. I can promise you that.
True. I've only known about it for this.
We're going to take a break. We'll be back in a minute because there are some other things that we need to also point out when the markets get like this, and we'll cover that in just a second. We'll see you on the other side.
Get ready for power, for success, for solutions and answers. It's all in one place. www.reallykevin.com. Education, opportunities, coaching, and so much more.
You are watching the Investor Guys podcast.
The Investor Guys podcast will be back shortly.
Absolution X. Lifestyle apparel like no other. Only at absolutionx.com. Get yours.
Live the resort lifestyle every day with Cayman K. The perfect pieces for every wardrobe. Shop the entire Cayman K collection and find your favorites. Find all our styles at caymank.com.
It's going to get weird, dude.
We're back.
It's going to get
I think that's the first thing everybody saw there was we were chatting during the commercial break, and one of the things that we wanted to point out is with this new presidential election, one of the things Biden has said is that he's going to put us back into lockdown. That is going to literally mean that we all need a place to be locked down in. We all need a home to be locked down in. And one of the things that I've noticed in Florida since we got here at the end of last year is the normally seasonal, influx of people and outflux of people didn't happen this year. We had a lot of people who were snowbirds who stayed here through the summer because they didn't want to go back to New York. They didn't want to go back to New Jersey. They didn't want to go back to Philadelphia. They didn't want to go back to those places where they're going to be locked down in this concrete mess of yuck. They wanted to be here where they had beaches, where they had sunshine, where they could still do something. Everybody was working from home anyway, so it made it easy for them to be here. And we're seeing that on a growing basis. One of the things that this whole lockdown has taught us is how easy it is for many of us to work from home. And I think once the lockdown is over, a lot of people are going to continue to work from home just because of the flexibility that it allows and the benefits that it gives to many companies as well by letting people work from home. You wanted to address that really quick, and then I wanted to point out a couple of things that are also apropos to this.
Yeah, and obviously we're not in lockdown at the moment, but it is a very real, not possibility, it is a very real likelihood that we will be going into another lockdown. And look, I'm going to stop. I'm going to bite my tongue and say, hey, look, we're going to probably have another lockdown if Biden is confirmed as the president, and it's likely to happen early in the next year, and not likely in January, but certainly February, March. But if that happens, we roll right back to one of the things that we have talked about constantly and will talk about constantly is Section 8. Because the only rents that are unaffected during the lockdown were rents that were coming from the federal government. So if you have a commercial building that you rent to the federal government, you're in good shape. You have housing that you rent. Look, when you have a Section 8 tenant, you are renting to the federal government. You can say it however you want to say it. You can look at it however you want to look at it. And I like to think of it on a personal basis. I love dealing with families and understanding that I'm providing great housing for good people. But my tenant's really the federal government. And that's how you need to look at it from an investment side, is that this is my investment and my tenant is the strongest financial institution existing on the planet today, the United States federal government. And so I've got a great tenant, and who my tenant allows to live in to the property that they have leased from. You know, we do a thing, we talk from time to time, and we haven't done a show on this yet, Kev. I'm going to just throw a spot out here. You'll hear this in the commercial world from time to time, and that is referred to as a master lease. Now, a master lease is a situation where, let's think about a mall, if you will. There's a master lease on a mall where somebody has the whole property, and then they turn around and they bring in all of the tenants that go into that mall, and those are sublease tenants. Even though that if you were to get one of those stores, you would say you were leasing it, but technically you're a subleaser. Well, that's a master tenant facility. That's really how we look at Section 8, is we're doing a master lease with the U.S. government. They're renting from us, and then who they put in there is really their business. Yes, we're involved in all that, but I want you to think about it in a much different prospect or aspect than you have likely in the past. But that master lease concept is a good way to look at that, where I've got a property, I'm leasing it to someone, they're going to lease it to someone else. And we always think about, the family that's moving in there. And I want you to think about it in a little different environment. I want you to think about it as really it's the federal government that's moving in there. And so if there is another lockdown, then you've got a great tenant that's going to continue to pay. Nobody's going to go to the federal government and go, hey, you know what? You need to stop paying your rent, right? We'll help you with that. That's not going to happen. Now, if you're renting to, I'm just going to say ordinary or regular tenants, that very well, you could have problems as we saw in the first lockdown. We're going to see that again in the next lockdown.
And it's not their fault. If they don't have money, they don't have money. That's just
and so that's going to be a problem. But if you've got the right tenant, you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. And to get just a little bit political, okay? Right now, the federal government being able to lock everybody down, most attorneys would tell you, most constitutionalists would tell you that the federal government doesn't have the power to do that, because each state has its own individual powers. Now, I know DeSantis, the governor of Florida, has vowed he will never lock down Florida again. So if that is the case, then, fingers crossed, in Florida, we're not going to be locked down again. We've got the governor's guarantee of that. What happens in other states, especially liberal states like California, where they've been locked down since March, okay?
I forgot about them, yeah.
Michigan, where they have been locked down since March, they have not come out of lockdown. They're still on lockdown. So liberal states like that, they're going to stay locked down. And that is why people are escaping those states en masse. Now, I wanted to point out really quick before we wrap this up, that with all of these people leaving these states, okay, many of them bring their own small businesses, hair salons, printing companies, small retail stores, whatever it is, with them. We've got businesses relocating, large businesses relocating. We've got an extra influx of money and need in our economy. So we are looking across the board at good opportunities for commercial investment, for residential investment, for multifamily investment, for literally everything. When you're talking about people moving into a market, and that kind of an exodus literally is what we're talking about. millions and millions and millions of people, over 1 million people a year for the last 10 years left California. I suspect it's probably going to be almost half that just this year alone because of the coronavirus. That's a lot of people. There's 1,000 people a day moving into Central Florida. That's just Central Florida. That is a lot of people. So all of that creates a need. And if we can fill that need, then we're sitting in the driver's seat.
Yep.
And that's pretty much the point of this entire show, is put yourself in that driver's seat. Find that need and be the person who fulfills that need.
Yep. Get in the flow of the money.
Yeah, you'll be golden. We went over again, but that seems
What a shock.
apropos for our show here.
Thanks for joining us.
Yes, and we'll see you next time, and we will discuss master leases or doing business in a corporation.
Got it.
Thanks for joining us, and happy investing, Bill. I'll talk to you later. Have a good one.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in to the Investor Guys podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe and stay updated on the latest trends and insights in the world of real estate investing. Also, don't forget to check us out and see all of our episodes at theinvestorguyspodcast.com. Email us, contact@investorguyspodcast.com. Remember, the key to financial success lies in staying informed and taking action. Stay tuned for our next episode, and until then, happy investing.